You thought it was the end, didn't you? When the silence grew louder than the arguments and the tears started feeling normal. You thought this is it. The breakup wasn't just a broken relationship, it broke a piece of you too. But let me remind you of something. You were never made to stay broken. This is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of your comeback. They may have walked away, but you're still here, breathing, rising, learning. You're still here with the strength to rebuild. Every heartbreak was a lesson. Every silent cry made you softer but wiser. And every time you chose yourself over pain, you wrote a new line in your victory song. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to glow differently. Love didn't fail you. It prepared you for something deeper. Something more honest, something that begins with you. So fall back in love with your passions, with your dreams, with your soul. Pain again, laugh again, trust again, but start by trusting yourself. This isn't about forgetting them. It's about remembering you. You are not too much. You are not hard to love. You are not a second choice. You're a masterpiece that no longer fits in frames built for less. So here's to the version of you that rises, not in anger, but in grace. That walks away, not because you're weak, but because you're finally awake. This isn't a breakdown. This is your comeback. This is your comeback. You thought it was over. The relationship, the memories, the plans you built in your head. Everything you imagined was suddenly gone, like a house of cards falling in slow motion. The nights felt longer. The mornings felt heavier. And there were moments where even breathing felt like work. It's okay. You're not weak for feeling this way. You're not dramatic for grieving something that mattered to you. But here's the truth. Just because something ends doesn't mean your story does.
Mhm.
It might feel like a full stop, but really it's a comma, a pause before something greater begins. Endings are powerful because they clear space. They shake you, yes, but they also wake you up. They ask you, who are you without them? What do you want now? What do you want now? You're not who you were before this heartbreak, and that's a gift. You're evolving, stronger, wiser, and more aware of what you deserve. This pain, as sharp as it is shaping the next version of you. And this version, she doesn't beg to be chosen. She doesn't shrink for someone else's comfort. She knows her worth, even when it hurts. There's a moment after everything falls apart when the pain just sits with you, quietly, constantly. You wake up with it. You carry it like a weight no one else can see. And in those moments, it's easy to believe that this pain will last forever, that it's going to define you. But it won't. It can't. Pain feels like the end, but in truth, it's the beginning of something deep, something transformative. You see, pain isn't here to destroy you. It's here to teach you, to stretch you, to pull you into the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. It forces you to sit with your fears, your hopes, your truth. And in doing that, it becomes a mirror, reflecting everything you've ignored and everything you're capable of becoming. You don't have to rush through this part. Healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel like you're making progress, and then suddenly you're back at square one, crying over a song or an old photo. That's okay. Healing doesn't always look brave. Sometimes it looks like getting out of bed when you don't want to. Sometimes it looks like unfollowing them, deleting messages, or saying no to going back to something that broke you. Every time you choose to move forward, even a little, you're rewriting the story. You're proving that pain doesn't control you. It transforms you. You're learning to hold your heart with care, to protect your energy, to understand your worth in ways you never had to before. This isn't punishment. It's preparation. It's growth. You don't need to get even. You don't need to post perfect pictures or pretend you're fine just to make someone else notice. You don't have to become colder, louder, or harder to prove that you're doing better. That's not what healing looks like, and deep down, you know that. Real strength doesn't scream. It glows. You rise by being real, by choosing your peace over your pride, by not explaining your worth to anyone who couldn't see it in the first place. You don't need to convince anyone that you're over it. Let your silence speak. Let your growth become your answer. Let them wonder how you're still standing. Let them see you glowing without the bitterness. That kind of light, the one that comes from reclaiming yourself piece by piece, that doesn't come from proving anything. It comes from doing the quiet work, the inner work, the kind of work that can't be posted, but can absolutely be felt. Absolutely be felt. You don't win by being louder than the hurt. You win by becoming unshakable. Not because you don't feel anything anymore, but because you finally know what you deserve. You win when you walk away, not because you're angry, but because you're finally free. But because you're finally free. When you no longer need closure from someone else to close the chapter within yourself, you've spent so much time pouring into someone else, loving them through their mess, believing in their potential, standing by them even when they stop showing up for you. And somewhere in the middle of that, you lost little pieces of yourself. You stopped asking, what do I need? What do I want? You forgot how powerful your own presence is. Now is the time to pour all that energy back into you. This isn't about being selfish. It's about being whole. It's about choosing yourself not as a last resort, but as a first instinct. It's time to remember what sets your soul on fire, what makes you laugh without holding back, what makes you feel alive, not for someone else's approval, but for your own joy. Fall in love with your reflection again, with your voice, your quirks, your dreams, with the things that make you feel deeply and the moments that remind you are still here, you are still worthy. Rebuilding after a breakup doesn't mean you're waiting for someone better. It means you're becoming the version of yourself who no longer settles. Your comeback starts with self-love. The real kind, the kind that sets boundaries, the kind that walks away from chaos and doesn't apologize for choosing peace. The kind that no longer begs to be seen because you finally see yourself. And that's enough. You might feel shattered right now, like pieces of yourself are scattered across the memories, the places, the conversations you replay in your head. Some days it's hard to recognize yourself in the mirror. Mara, the version of you who loves so openly, who believes so deeply, now feels bruised, tired, and unsure. But let me tell you something with every ounce of truth. You are not broken. You are becoming. This pain didn't destroy you. It's rebuilding you. You. It's stripping away the version of you that tolerated too much, stayed too long, or made yourself small for someone who couldn't meet you where you stood. And that's not weakness. That's strength in disguise, because now you're being rebuilt with boundaries, with wisdom, with clarity, with a heart that may be scarred, but still beats with purpose. The ache you feel right now isn't permanent. It's part of the molding process. It's the fire that forges your next level, more aware, more grounded, more fearless. You're learning that your value doesn't disappear just because someone failed to hold it. You're learning that softness and strength can coexist. That breaking down doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're alive, you're feeling, you're evolved. One day you'll look back and see this version of you, the one who kept going even while falling apart, as the strongest woman you've ever known. The one who rose, slowly and quietly, not because she had it all together, but because she refused to stay buried in what broke her. It's easy to look back and think love let you down, to blame it for the sleepless nights, the unanswered texts, the feeling of being invisible, even while standing right in front of someone. You gave your heart to something that didn't last, and that hurts deeply. But love itself didn't fail you. What failed you was the way it was given, the way it was held, the way it wasn't honored. Love, real love, never asks you to lose yourself. It doesn't make you feel like a burden. It doesn't confuse you or make you question your own worth. If anything, true love brings you home to yourself. And now, after the heartbreak, after the storm, you're finally in a place where you can see the difference. That wasn't love's failure. That was love showing you what you no longer need to accept. It was love teaching you boundaries. Love preparing you to recognize something real when it comes, because next time you won't mistake intensity for intimacy. You won't shrink to be chosen. You won't trade your peace for someone else's presence. This wasn't punishment. This wasn't punishment. It was preparation. A painful, raw, necessary lesson in becoming whole on your own. So when love returns, it won't find you desperate or lost. It'll find you grounded, glowing, and ready, not because you need it to complete you, but because you've already done the work to complete yourself. Love didn't fail you. It refined you. It brought you closer to the kind of love that doesn't break, the kind that begins within. There's a moment after it all ends when you start to wonder if maybe it was you. Maybe you weren't enough. Maybe you weren't enough. Maybe you were too much, too emotional, too sensitive, too complicated. And those thoughts, quiet, cruel, and persistent, begin to eat away at your confidence. But let me remind you of something powerful and real. Your worth was never determined by someone else's inability to see it. You were not too much. You were honest. You were real. You were present. You gave your time, your effort, your love, and none of that was wrong. The wrong thing was giving it to someone who didn't know what to do with it or who wasn't ready to receive something that pure. That's not your fault. You don't become less worthy just because someone mishandled your heart. And you're not hard to love. You just loved someone who couldn't meet you where you stood. Maybe they didn't value consistency. Maybe they couldn't offer emotional safety. Maybe they loved you in their own way. But it wasn't the kind of love that saw you, held you, honored you. And you deserve that kind of love. Stop questioning your value based on someone else's limited vision. You are not invisible, and you are never a second choice in your own story. You are always the main character. Strong, soft, powerful, and whole. The way someone else loved you or failed to has nothing to do with how lovable you are. The right person won't ask you to tone yourself down or be less or apologize for the way your heart beats. They'll look at you, all of you, and say, "Ah, finally." Until then, remember, your worth is not up for debate. You might catch yourself scrolling through old messages, replaying memories like scenes from a movie you once lived in. You might still ache for closure or wonder if you'll ever stop missing the way things used to feel. It's human to hold on, to grieve, to wish it ended differently. But this part of your life, this chapter after the breakup, isn't about replacing anyone. It's about remembering yourself. You gave so much of your heart to someone else that you forgot how beautiful it felt to be fully you. Before the compromise, before the overthinking, before the love that slowly started to... This moment is your chance to find that version of you again. The one who had dreams that had nothing to do with another person. The one who laughed out loud without second guessing. The one who wasn't walking on eggshells just to keep the peace. Rediscovery is not about going backward. It's about rising into the woman you've always been underneath the noise, the pressure to be perfect, the fear of abandonment, the ache of being misunderstood. You get to ask yourself new questions now. What makes me come alive? What have I forgotten to love about myself? What have I outgrown, not just in them, but in me? This is your time to create again, to breathe freely again. To build a life that reflects who you really are, not who you had to be to stay in something that was never meant to last. You're not rebuilding to fit someone else. You're rising to fit yourself, fully, fearlessly, and without apology. You're not waiting for someone new. You're welcoming someone familiar, you. You've been told, directly or indirectly, that you're too much. Too emotional, too intense, too deep, too honest. That you care too quickly, feel too strongly, speak too freely. So somewhere along the way, you started to dim your light, lower your voice, shrink your dreams, all just to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. But here's the truth. You were never too much. They were simply not enough to handle your depth. Your emotions are not flaws. They are signs that you're alive, that you love fully, that you live with heart. It means you notice what others miss. It means you care when others stay numb. And that is rare and beautiful and worth protecting. Don't let someone's inability to meet you at your level convince you that you have to lower yours. You don't. You weren't meant to be half loved, half heard, or half understood. You weren't meant to stay in rooms where you had to apologize for taking up space. You were meant for more. For conversations that move your soul. For love that feels safe and soft. For friendships that don't ask you to be smaller, quieter, less. You are meant to stand fully in your truth, even if that truth scares people who haven't yet met themselves. Your light is not too bright. Your love is not too much. You don't need to shrink to be chosen. You only need to rise so the right ones can find you. You were never too much. You were just waiting to be seen by someone who could finally say, "You are exactly enough." You are exactly enough. You might feel like you're breaking, like everything you knew. Everything you trusted has fallen apart beneath your feet. The version of you who once believed in forever now feels like a stranger, buried beneath the pain, the silence, the disappointment. But let me tell you something with love and clarity. This isn't your breakdown. This is your breakthrough. It may not look like it right now. It may look like late night tears, like unanswered questions, like struggling to find your footing again. But the very fact that you're still showing up, still trying, still breathing through the ache, that's power, real power. Because every time your heart gets broken and you choose to rebuild it instead of hardening it, you rise. You're not falling apart. You're falling into alignment, You're learning to let go of what was never meant to stay. You're shedding old versions of yourself that were shaped by fear, by compromise, by needing someone else's love to feel whole. That version of you had to go, not because she wasn't enough, but because she was ready to evolve. And that evolution is happening right now, in the quiet, in the chaos, and the courage it takes to keep going. A breakthrough doesn't come with applause. It comes with resilience. It comes with sitting in the mess and saying, I will not stay here. It comes with holding your own hand and deciding you're worthy of peace, of joy, of something softer and truer. You are not at your lowest. You are at your turning point. It's a moment where everything starts to shift because you've decided not to go back to what broke you. You've decided to rise, even if you have to rise slowly. Even if no one sees it yet, this is not your ending. This is the fire that will forge your next chapter. So if you're standing in the ruins, unsure of what's next, just know this. You are not lost. You are becoming. You are building a new version of yourself from the ground up. One choice, one breath, one brave moment at a time. And when you finally look back, you won't just see pain. You'll see proof. Proof that you are stronger than the heartbreak, braver than the fear, and more powerful than you ever imagined. Keep going. Your breakthrough is already becoming your becoming. You're becoming.